Garry's Mod Tower. Where to start? It was a legendary game mode for the then relatively new Garry's Mod 10. Developed by Pixel Tail Games, it was a smash success. It's so intertwined with Garry's Mod, it's even mentioned on its Wikipedia page. It was designed as a game filled with minigames, sort of like WarioWare, but it was all online and took place in this massive tower. You could meet new people, set up apartments which you could customize to your liking, invite people over, or go to other people's apartments. The only game that's really come close to this is PlayStation Home, but that only really offered the social side of stuff with barely any mini games in it. Except that RC car game, that was fucking amazing. And what was it called? Sodium 2? Oh man, I've just made myself nostalgic for fucking PlayStation Home. Anyway, players would all be in this one big tower with game modes to play. You could watch YouTube in your apartment, relax, play piano, or pretend to be Liberty Prime and kick communists out of your room.
Liberty Prime is online. Communist detected on American soil. Communist detected on American soil. Lethal force engaged.
The community was massive and its fans were numerous. To explain how popular it was, Gary Newman had to up the play count for Garry's Mod from 64 players in a server to 128 just because the Garry's Mod Tower servers were so busy. They had 30,000 unique players at launch and it went up to nearly 55,000 every month. That's as much players as Team Fortress 2 has playing now. It seemed like something that could never stop and keep on going on the up and up with consistent updates since its conception. Lobby 2 launched in 2015. It seemed like we were on the verge of a new evolution of the tower experience, but unfortunately, less than a year later, the fun finally came to an end with Garry's Mod Tower being shut down. But like a phoenix rising from the ashes, Tower Unite was announced. People were excited, and I, along with many other people, bought their copy as soon as possible. Garry's Mod Tower with even higher quality and more stuff to do? Sign me and the rest of the known universe up because we're playing some bull race tonight, boys! Well, it didn't all go as hoped. I don't want to spend an entire video on talking about how much of a downgrade Tower Unite was. The gist of it is that everything's done in menus, no one really goes to the lobby or tower or whatever. There's not really a real social part. You don't meet new people, and anyone who was in the tower were all in the casino trying to get more money. The social aspect, the thing that Garry's Mod Tower thrived on, was dead. The apartments and condos were there, sure, but without being able to organically visit someone's condo, rather having to search for a list in a menu, there wasn't really much point. It doesn't help that almost all the condos for some reason are art galleries for fetish porn. I feel like there's better ways to get your jollies off than a 3D art gallery, but hey, you do you. Tower Unite has been consistently updated, with a big update dropping just a few days ago in fact. While it is technically a superior game on a much better engine, with more detailed assets, it just doesn't really have the same appeal. The player numbers have dropped off over time, and while the game is still supported, it's rather a shadow of its former self. Don't get me wrong, it's a fun game I play every now and again, but it just isn't the same experience as before. As of time of current recording, it's dropped to 200 concurrent players. People wanted the original experience, and while there were attempts to bring back the server, none of them really got the attention that Robokids Revival Project got. A thread was started on Knockout, known as "So I Found a Garry's Mod Tower server." Some people were excited to play, while more wary folk were concerned it was some sort of trick, a virus or a Bitcoin miner. The curious few who joined, however, they found the game fully intact how it used to be, running the original Lobby 1 code. People were pretty happy. It was a long dead game at this point and people wanted it back. MacD Guy, the lead developer of Garry's Mod Tower and Tower Unite, would come into the thread, expressing his displeasure at the server.
We really do not appreciate people rehosting Gmod Tower. This is not authorized by us at all, and they didn't get permission. It's also stolen code, as our code has always been closed source.
I myself responded to Mac, questioning why it was such a problem if the code was going to be unused and really going to waste. Obviously, if it was stolen code, that's not really okay, but since it was abandonware, I personally couldn't really see a major issue. Mac responded with,
Imagine someone taking most of a book you wrote for 10 years and republishing it without permission as their own, while making edits to it as well. It's a piece of work that does not belong to them, and they don't have the rights to rehost it. It's always been closed source since it started, and if we wanted to bring it back, we would do that on our own. And personally, it's upsetting to me because it's the 10th year anniversary to a project I care deeply about, and no one asked how I'd feel about it.
This caused quite an argument, spanning several paragraphs and pages. I'm going to trim it down for this video as I don't want to make this, like, super long. You can read for yourself with the link in the description, but essentially the argument was, the code was stolen, they shouldn't use it against... It's just preserving what the game was, it hasn't been used in nearly 6 or 7 years. The argument would come to a halt, however, as more news came out about the code being completely reverse engineered by RoboKid. The only code that was really used from the original Garry's Mod Tower was stuff that was given out to clients who joined the server. There was constant Tower Unite advertising in game, and you'd even get donator status if you had Tower Unite in your library. The host was not making any money out of this whatsoever. Instead, he was begging people to go buy Tower Unite to help support the original developers, which that really changed public opinion for the better. People were extremely supportive of the current server, and many people joined it, such as myself. Until Pixeltail Game came out of nowhere, slapping the server down with a lawsuit. The legal reasoning behind it is really shaky at best. A majority of Tower Unite assets weren't owned by Pixeltail, and the Garry's Mod Tower brand wasn't even a registered trademark. And while I'm not a legal expert, obviously, look at me, I have a fucking YouTube channel with less than 1,000 subscribers. RoboKid, the host, really should have been in the clear. This was just really an intimidation tactic, plain and simple. It also should be noted that RoboKid was a minor at the time, which, I mean, I guess that explains the username. For such a big company going after a single minor for basically remaking their game, it doesn't leave a good taste in my mouth. The host, RoboKid, starts responding on the thread, explaining he even tried to reach out and make an agreement to MacD-Guy, and he wasn't planning to make a profit off it anyway, which Mac really ignored completely. Mr. Guy had completely abandoned the thread at this point after realizing just how sour this move had made the community as a whole. People started coming forward about how bad MacD-Guy was as a person, such as Nazelsroth, what the fuck are these names, who says,
I've always remembered MacD-Guy is a bad guy. I don't have any evidence for this claim, but back in the day he said as a modeler I didn't have any worth if I couldn't make a couch in an hour. I respected him a lot, and I couldn't make a couch in an hour, so I thought it must be true. It profoundly affected me as a 12-year-old, and I dropped being an artist entirely. This was back in 2007, so I saw him as a jerk before Gmod Tower was super big. Only very recently did I regain confidence in myself, and now I make a living off of modeling. On the bright side, I'm very careful to make sure new creators feel like they can be as good as they want to prevent someone going through the same thing.
People asked the host to release the code, but he refuses on a few points. First off, he's concerned about Pixeltail suing him for such an act even more, and the fact that he was concerned that if everybody had the code, it wouldn't really be a social experience due to how many people there would be per server. He didn't want to have 32 different Tower Unite servers with maybe like 4 people on them, which I suppose is understandable. A lot of people in the thread actually offer to pay RoboKid's legal fees if he was sued, but he refuses because he's a minor, he can't really accept money, and if he did get sued it would be his parents, not him. People more intelligent in the law world than I am, such as Saxon, say,
that DMCA is incredibly half-assed, and I'd be surprised if they even took the time to get a lawyer to write it. Copyright databases don't return a search for Gmod Tower, and you can't copyright or trademark the name Gmod Tower without Garry's permission, which I'm going to assume they don't have, lol. Just keep in mind that they can take it to court even if they're in the wrong. They can tie you up in legal fees and headaches just before a judge tells them to fuck off.
Matt comes back into the thread for the last time, saying,
I've been speaking with RoboKid personally for the past couple hours about his project. We also spoke yesterday as well. Initially, my main concern has been to protect our copyrights, our own artwork, logo, website, and code. I have heard more of his side and he's heard more of my side. The legal stuff has been addressed, as in, we've come to an agreement, are currently no longer pursuing any legal action with RoboKid at this time. We've talked about what the future will bring, and we're both no longer upset with each other. I do understand that people can see me as being wrong to be so protective, but this is a project that we've been close to and developing for such a long time. We don't want people using our work without permission. Gmod Tower and Tower Unite is currently our only active IP. That's really how any of this started. If I was approached about this idea first, things wouldn't have been as shaky, and we could have reached an agreement or contract of sorts.
This did nothing. RoboKid still couldn't host, people were still angry at MacD-Guy. Less than 24 hours later, the thread is reopened, and, well, Pixeltail came through. Their plan was to host Garry's Mod Tower, and that's why they wanted it shut down. Hooray! It's coming back after all! Garry's Mod Tower is back! Everyone was happy. Matt cleared his name and he was happy, right? Oh. That's why they shut it down. Oh no. I guess Pixeltail really are just money-grubbing assholes, forcing you to pay for software that was once free, even going so far to threaten a false lawsuit to a minor for money? Jesus Christ. And I came into this video trying to be a big brain centrist, but I cannot with good God, Mac, what happened? Anyway, let's continue on. One of the older hosts for Garry's Mod Tower Classic, Hayabusa? Hentai? One of the older hosts for Garry's Mod Tower, him, talks about his experience. Hyena talks about his attempt with his own version of Garry's Mod Tower, Garry's Mod Tower Classic. Many of the Garry's Mod Tower developers were completely okay with this version. It was similar to RoboKids, completely supporting Tower Unite, being non-profit, but MacDguy didn't bother talking with Hyena, asking him, or even trying to communicate. The only time when Mac responded is when Hyena asked about the DMCA that arrived in their mailbox. If they shut down RoboKids because they were bringing back this version of Garry's Mod Tower, why did they shut this one down? This was nowhere near the date of the reunion. It seemed like the reason MacDguy had relaunched Garry's Mod Tower was just to try and get some of this bad press off his back, and it worked. It only becomes even more obvious as the deadline comes and goes, with Mac citing that he needed to rework the code. Apparently the code was in a complete mess of a state, and if they had planned this out, wouldn't this have already been sorted? Why would they leave it to the last second to actually check the code? I mean, Pixeltail is a decent sized company. I'm sure they would have had some sort of plan if this was something they would have done beforehand. Mac obviously didn't respond. At least we did have a small victory. Mac removed needing to own Tower Unite to join the server after the even more backlash he got. I'd say this is where the story ends, but you can see the runtime of this video. This man just can't stop getting into shit. July 26, 2019, the relaunch of Garry's Mod Tower. Pixeltail weren't lying, and they're all good people and what? Huh? Oh god, what have they done? They've crammed adverts wherever they could. I'm sure if it was possible, they'd make every single texture into a Tower Unite advert. You have to wait 30 seconds every time you join the server. Even if you were rejoining from playing a game on the server, you'd have to see a 30-second advert. Not only that, the remake was in such a sorry state. Like, it's so bad that there's some theories that Mac actually sabotaged the game to make Tower Unite look better in comparison. If these hold any water, well, I'll let you be the judge. Mr. Saturn, a big gameplay part of Ultimate Chimera Hunt, is broken. If you haven't played Ultimate Chimera Hunt, Mr. Saturn is the only way you can stun the Chimera. It spawns a minute into the game, and it's basically the saving grace if the Chimera is like hiding in a corner, and it doesn't work. Zombie Massacre just doesn't work. You're stuck in the upgrade screen. Pool race round progression doesn't work, and neither does it send you back to the lobby, it just quits the game. And it's literally impossible to get a game in source carts. They broke the duel system, so no PvP, and the trivia system is completely broken. How do you fuck up this bad? You had RoboKid offering to host for you with a completely functioning system, and you fuck it up. Jesus. As a reminder, RoboKid has offered to run this under Pixeltail's banner, paying for hosting and everything for Mac, who had ignored him right up until he was trying to pursue legal action. This only really lends credence to the theory that they had no prior plan to bring it back, and the only reason they did it is for free money and publicity. User Jordan, thank God for a good name, posts this.
Mac knew I was having an eating disorder a few years before all this drama happened. By the way, during the time Mac was still dating his boyfriend, and I was discussing my serious issue with my eating disorder, Mac comes in and says, "You should stop stuffing yourself." That day I told nobody how I was feeling and attempted suicide, as the suicide attempt which nearly succeeded, and was fucking livid. Mac was also a creep and kept stalking, and I for a while accusing him of favoritism. People told me Mac had a thing for me, but I seriously doubt it. Then Misty, Shammy and Ronnie came back for a bit for a makeshift wedding. They got active again, and Misty had the hots for Shammy. Shammy didn't like her that way, and she started to accuse him for being a pedophile. Ronnie told me everything. Misty only accused Shammy of it because he rejected her, and went crying to Mac because he was the owner of the tower. He's a cloud chaser. Lamau. Years later, when Mac apparently wanted to make up because exposed him on a YouTube comment, he convinced me to delete the message. Mac said he really wanted to be friends and whatever. So on a small community I am in, there was going to be a public event held at LA. A friend of mine told me Misty and Mac was coming. She's a friend of Misty, and I should come and say hello. When I told Mac, he immediately turned his back on me and threatened me. And then Mac said, I did nothing wrong, and took his apology back because he already got what he wanted from me. Mac is the biggest piece of shit manipulator, and I honestly hope a RoboKid won't fall for this bullshittery.
Yikes. And I don't mean my name. Ex-developers of Garry's Mod Tower and Tower Unite do confirm that this chat lock is real. Jordan explains he was working on Garry's Mod Cruise Line, a cruise line based Garry's Mod mod, and MacDigo did a similar thing, banning any mention of this project or any other project that Jordan was working on in his forums and chat because, well, it could hurt his bottom line. It's worth mentioning, in retaliation to all this drama, Jordan started work on Knockoff Towers. It seemed to be a Tower Unite copy, but I believe he stopped development on it because what comes next? Yeah, that's right. After Mac was being such a big baby and having a tantrum over code for so long, everything he worked hard to preserve got leaked. It turns out treating your fellow developers and community like garbage can backfire on you. Who would have thought? In the leaked file, there's this text document called For MacDigo, which really represents the community's feelings towards him. Mac tried desperately to DMCA it, but it was far too late. The code was spread far and wide. In an effort to try and stop this and move the process along, Mac decides to copyright Garry's Mod Tower, calling it GM Tower to try and avoid, the copyright strike of Gary Newman. On top of this, he goes back into the code and adds a copyright notice onto every single client-side file, and I'm assuming server-side file as well, but we can't see that. Mac decided to do the big brain move and ban anyone related to RoboKids or previous servers from the brand new and official Garry's Mod Tower server. And I wish this is where it stopped because my god, my throat is killing me, but we got some more stuff to talk about. These documents allege that Macklin guy, MacD guy, whatever you want to call him, has been stealing money from GMT donators for years. Mac originally claimed that the service cost $200 to run, which soon got bumped up to $600. When he convinced the Yogscast to join his server, he suddenly got thousands of dollars of donations coming in, going up to tens of thousands. Apparently Mac didn't know what to do with the money, and with it keep going up and up, he decided to conceal it. He keeps raising the amount needed consistently, going all the way up to $3,000. People were confused, wary, why did it go up so much? And people stopped donating nearly as much, and rather understandably so. Mac removed the total amount needed on page, so people didn't know exactly how much it cost for Garry's Mod Tower to keep running. I've had experience hosting a variety of games in the past. $600 seems very steep what GMT had at face value, but if you take into consideration the game modes, I suppose it makes sense if they all had DDoS protection or whatever. But $3,000 however, that's a complete lie. There's no way in hell that GMT would cost $3,000 to run monthly. And I guess that's why I removed it, people weren't going to be falling for it. Then he decides to remove the automatic updating progress bar with one that is manually updated by him. It allows Mac to control how much it seems that GMT needs for money. This user who made the document alleges that between the Kickstarter of Tower Unite and since Yogscast blew up the server with popularity, Mac has embezzled $250,000 in one big scam. As a reference, RoboKid's Revival project costs $70 a month to keep up for one lobby and all its game modes with DDoS protection. 2 lobbies costing about $200, that's understandable. But then going up to $600 and $3,000 later on? That's ooh. Also of note is he dropped it to $200 when Tower Unite was announced. The only reason I can wonder why it would cost so much to host is if he had been paying his developers. For example, on Space Punch, my Space Station 13 server, any funds we get over the server's total goes directly into the coders or admins' pockets. I don't get any of it, neither does the other host. And in that case, I'd be completely okay with it. But the user apparently did talk to some developers and they didn't see a dime of any of the money Mac was getting. And that really wraps it up for this video. There is a lot more I can talk about, like Mac's wife being very... what's the word I'm looking for? It might be better if I just explain it. She got angry on Steam Greenlight for a golfing minigame ripping off Garry's Mod Tower mini golf. What? That's like John Romero going to Valve, beating up everyone for stealing his idea when they were making Half-Life. There are other things too, like if you mention RoboKid or Knockout Forums, this massive forum where, you know, hundreds of users go on anything related to Garry's Mod Tower, Pixel Tail, Tower Unite, whatever, you get instantly banned. I did a speedrun, I got 10 seconds, not bad. I have no doubt in my mind that I haven't covered everything. I mean, this is only a 20-minute video. There's 50 pages on Knockout or whatever. So please check the description below to see the entire thread. And my god, it's a ride. I really didn't want to make a serious video like this. I was hoping that it would blow up, you know, Jim Sterling or, I don't know, some big drama YouTube would take care of it for me, but surprisingly, the Streisand effect didn't work and bite him in the ass. I hope you've enjoyed this video, or at the very least learnt something. If you want to subscribe, I won't make videos similar to this one, but if you do, thank you very much. And if you really do want to support the channel, I am going through a bit of stuff recently, so please support me on Patreon if you can. Thank you very much for watching. See ya. Fuck MacD guy.